The arrival of the fleet. It was just another ordinary day on Earth, or so it seemed. People went about their daily routines, unaware that the course of history was about to change forever. The skies were clear, the sun was shining, and everything felt normal. But then, something happened that no one could have predicted. At exactly 11 o'clock a.m., the first shadow appeared in the sky. It started small, like a speck, but it grew larger with every passing second. People stopped what they were doing and looked up, their eyes filled with confusion and fear. The speck turned into a dark shape, and that shape kept getting bigger, until the sky itself seemed to be covered by something massive. It wasn't just one ship. It was thousands. A fleet, unlike anything Earth had ever seen before, filled the sky. The ships were enormous, their metal surfaces gleaming in the sunlight, but they looked cold and alien. They came in perfect formation, blocking out the sun and casting long shadows over the earth below. Panic spread quickly. People ran into their homes, locking doors and pulling down blinds. In every city, on every street, there was chaos. Phones rang and television screens flickered to life, showing news anchors speaking frantically about the strange ships. But no one knew what they were or where they had come from. Inside the United Nations headquarters, the leaders of Earth's nations met in an emergency session. They stared at the giant screens that showed images of the alien fleet hovering over the major cities. The military was put on high alert, and fighter jets were scrambled, but no one knew what to do. The ships were simply too powerful to ignore. Across the world, people watched the ships with a mixture of awe and terror. Some wondered if this was a sign of peace. Maybe they had come to offer knowledge or help humanity in some way. But deep down, everyone knew that no alien fleet would come all the way across the stars to offer friendship. The fear was growing, and it spread faster than the ships themselves. Hours passed. The fleet didn't move. It didn't attack, but neither did it leave. It just stayed there, hanging in the sky like a dark omen. It was a display of power, an undeniable message that the people of Earth were small in comparison to whatever force controlled these ships. The aliens were watching, studying Earth's reaction, and the people of Earth were waiting, holding their breath, waiting for the next move. Then, a voice came through every communication channel. It wasn't from Earth. It wasn't a language anyone could understand. The voice was cold, mechanical, and it seemed to echo across the world at once. As the words filled the air, a sense of dread took over. The message was simple, and its meaning was clear. Surrender or face destruction. The voice didn't explain who it was. It didn't explain why the fleet had come. But the threat was unmistakable. These beings, whoever they were, had the power to destroy Earth in an instant if they chose. The message was a declaration of war, and the fate of Earth hung in the balance. In every country, leaders met behind closed doors. The world's military leaders discussed the fleet's capabilities, trying to find a way to fight back. The technology the aliens possessed was far beyond anything Earth had ever seen. The ships were too advanced, too powerful. The human armies stood no chance against such an invasion. But humanity's will to survive was stronger than the fear that gripped them. A debate raged among the world leaders. Some wanted to negotiate with the aliens, offering them resources or cooperation in exchange for peace. Others were not so trusting. They believed the aliens would destroy Earth whether the humans fought or surrendered. They believed humanity had no choice but to fight, to show the invaders that Earth was not a planet to be conquered. Hours turned into days. The alien fleet remained, motionless in the sky. It was a waiting game. The aliens were patient. They knew they had time. But Earth's people, despite the fear, began to rally. The desire to fight back, to protect their homes, families, and future, began to burn stronger than the fear of the unknown. In the midst of all this chaos, there were whispers of something else. Some people believed that the alien fleet was not just a show of strength. There were rumors that the ships had a purpose, a mission. But what was it? Was this invasion the beginning of an intergalactic war? Or was something else happening, something more terrifying? As the sun set on that first day of the invasion, Earth held its breath. The fleet above them had not moved, but the humans knew that their time to act was coming. The next day could be the beginning of Earth's fight for survival, or it could be the beginning of its end. And somewhere, in the depths of space, the aliens watched and waited. They knew their mission. They knew that the moment to strike was fast approaching. The first attack. The next morning came, and Earth's fear was palpable. Across the globe, people watched as the alien ships remained in place, towering over cities and towns. No one knew when the attack would come, or what kind of destruction it would bring. But one thing was clear. The world was on the brink of something unimaginable. In every major city, governments scrambled to prepare. The military was mobilized, and fighters were launched into the air, ready to confront the unknown. People filled the streets, their eyes fixed on the sky, waiting for the first sign of aggression. Everyone was holding their breath, hoping for the best but fearing the worst. Then, without warning, the silence was broken. A low, thunderous rumble echoed through the sky. It wasn't a sound that came from Earth. It was something deeper, more unsettling. The alien ships began to move. Slowly at first, like giants awakening from a long sleep. The moment the ships shifted, panic swept through the crowds below. The moment of truth had arrived. Suddenly, without any further warning, a flash of light blazed from one of the alien ships. The light was bright enough to blind anyone who looked directly at it. The ground shook violently as a beam of energy shot out from the ship, striking the earth below. It hit a city, vaporizing entire buildings in a single burst. People screamed and ran, but it was too late. The city was already gone. The shockwave from the blast spread quickly, knocking people off their feet and causing panic to explode. The world had just witnessed the unimaginable, the power of the alien fleet. Military forces scrambled to respond, but they were no match for the alien technology. Fighter jets launched into the air, their engines roaring, but the aliens were already prepared. More beams of energy fired from the ships, striking down the planes before they could get close. Earth's defenses were useless against the sheer power of the alien weapons. In the chaos, a group of soldiers stationed in a military base not far from the city watched the destruction unfold on their monitors. They knew there was little they could do. They could send fighters, they could launch missiles, but the enemy was far too advanced. The realization hit them hard. Earth wasn't prepared for this kind of war. As more beams struck the ground, people fled their homes, running toward shelters or hiding in whatever buildings they could find. Panic spread across every country, and soon the global economy began to collapse. The alien ships continued their silent, deadly assault from above, their movements deliberate and controlled. They didn't seem to be in a rush. They were showing the world their power, letting Earth's people know that resistance was futile. Amidst all the destruction, there were stories of survival. Some people, lucky enough to be far from the impact zones, took to the streets and began organizing. They gathered together, forming small groups, and started communicating through underground channels. They refused to give up without a fight. The leaders of Earth may have been scrambling, but the people were united in one common belief: humanity would not go down without a battle. In cities far from the alien attacks, people gathered in groups to make plans to resist. They began to understand something. The aliens, for all their power, hadn't conquered Earth yet. They had attacked, yes, but they hadn't wiped out humanity in a single strike. There was still hope, however small. Meanwhile, the leaders of the world met again in an emergency session. What could they do? Earth's military was outmatched, and the alien fleet had shown just how far ahead they were. The only answer, it seemed, was to surrender. Some suggested it was the only way to save lives, to avoid more destruction. But others couldn't bring themselves to give up so easily. They believed that there was still a way to fight back. maybe not in direct confrontation, but through other means. There were whispers of a hidden weapon, a secret technology buried deep within Earth's defenses. Some believed that humanity might be able to turn the tide if they could just find a way to use it. But that meant they had to survive long enough to search for it. With every passing hour, more cities fell. The alien fleet seemed to be everywhere, destroying everything in its path. Yet Earth's survivors grew more determined. They had seen the worst, but they still weren't willing to give in. The first attack was devastating, but it was only the beginning. The alien fleet had made its move, showing the world just how easily it could crush humanity. But it was also showing Earth something else, its vulnerability. The aliens had underestimated Earth's resolve, and the survivors began to wonder, could humanity find a way to strike back? The battle for Earth had just begun. The hidden power of humanity. The days after the first alien attack were filled with chaos and despair. Cities lay in ruins, and many people believed that humanity's survival was no longer possible. The alien fleet, massive and unstoppable, hovered above Earth, showing no signs of retreat. But in the midst of the destruction, something unexpected began to happen. While most of the world's military forces were still reeling from the alien onslaught, a small group of civilians, people who had been unaffected by the initial wave of destruction, began to take matters into their own hands. Among them were engineers, hackers, and scientists who had watched the alien ships with wide eyes. They had witnessed the power of the alien technology, and while they knew they were outmatched, they also knew one thing: humanity had something the aliens didn't: human ingenuity. It started with whispers, then small groups began forming in secret. They met in basements, abandoned buildings, and hidden shelters, pooling their knowledge. The survivors had been left with little choice but to fight back, and they knew they had to outsmart the aliens, not overpower them. The aliens may have had advanced weapons and technology, but they had one big weakness: they were not from Earth. They didn't understand how Earth's natural systems worked, and that's where humanity's knowledge of the planet came in. One group of engineers discovered something remarkable: the alien ships' energy shields, which made them impervious to missiles and lasers, could be disrupted by a specific frequency, one that Earth's electromagnetic fields naturally emitted. It wasn't much, but it was a breakthrough. With this knowledge, the humans began to experiment with ways to create a signal that would interfere with the alien technology. Meanwhile, other groups worked on adapting Earth's weapons to be more effective against the alien ships. They scavenged the wreckage of destroyed fighter jets and alien ships, hoping to reverse engineer some of the technology. It was a long shot, but humanity had always been good at making do with limited resources. They had to, after all. The first wave of attacks had shown them that the aliens didn't play by the rules, and Earth would have to break the rules to survive. The hidden power of humanity wasn't just in its knowledge, though. It was in its spirit. The survivors, now united by a common cause, began to form larger resistance groups. They communicated through underground networks, spreading messages of hope and defiance. In cities where the attacks had been the worst, pockets of resistance began to fight back. They sabotaged alien equipment, ambushed small alien patrols, and even hijacked a few of their ships. What was even more remarkable was that, for the first time, people from every corner of the world were working together. People who had once been divided by borders, by language, by culture, were now unified by a single goal: to save their planet. Governments, in some cases, had lost control, but the people themselves had not. They were stronger than anyone had realized, and the alien invaders were about to learn that underestimating humanity was their greatest mistake. One of the most pivotal moments came when a small group of resistance fighters in New York City managed to capture an alien soldier. It was a shocking and dangerous act. Alien soldiers had never been seen on the ground before. The soldiers were usually protected by their ships or hidden within the fleet. But this particular alien, injured in battle, had been left behind. The humans took advantage of the opportunity and used their limited resources to hold it captive. For the first time, Humanity had a direct line to the enemy. The resistance interrogated the alien, not with brute force, but with clever tactics. They learned that the invaders had underestimated Earth's ability to fight back. They had expected humanity to surrender without a fight. They had believed that Earth was too divided to mount any sort of resistance. The alien revealed that their fleet had been sent not just to conquer, but to take Earth's resources, its rich minerals, its oceans, and its untapped power. The invaders had no interest in peace. They simply wanted to use Earth as a stepping stone for their expansion. The most shocking revelation, however, came from the aliens' final words. Earth wasn't the only target. The fleet had already conquered other planets, but there was something special about Earth that the aliens had not expected: its people. The alien acknowledged that humanity's strength, their resilience, and their sheer will to survive made them dangerous. They were not like the other civilizations the fleet had crushed. This, the alien admitted, was why Earth had been chosen as the next target. It was a challenge. The resistance now knew what they were up against. They weren't fighting just for survival. They were fighting for their very identity. The alien threat wasn't just about technology and resources. It was about the existence of humanity itself. With this knowledge, the resistance began to form a new plan. It wasn't enough to simply defend Earth. They had to strike back. They began preparing their own weapons, gathering supplies, and forging alliances. They knew that time was running out, but they had something that the aliens didn't: the power to adapt and the will to fight for their future. The hope that had once seemed faint, a mere spark in the darkness, began to grow brighter. Humanity was not finished. They had found their hidden power, their unbreakable spirit, their ability to work together, and their determination to protect the Earth from those who sought to destroy it. As Earth's defenders prepared for the next phase of the war, the alien fleet above remained a constant reminder of the threat they faced. But the humans had learned something vital. The aliens may have had the technology, but they had underestimated the strength of the human spirit. The battle was far from over. But now, Earth was ready. Alien struggles and surprises. The months following the first wave of alien attacks were filled with constant battles. Earth's resistance had grown stronger, fueled by the knowledge they had gained and the determination to protect their planet. But the alien invaders were not just watching from above. They were adapting. Each time humanity found a way to fight back, the aliens seemed to have a solution. It was a deadly game of cat and mouse, with both sides trying to outsmart each other. The alien fleet had initially been sure of its victory, but as more resistance groups emerged, they started to realize something troubling. Earth's fighters were not just defending. They were learning, evolving, and striking back with surprising effectiveness. The aliens had assumed that their advanced technology would be enough to crush the humans without effort. What they hadn't anticipated was the resourcefulness of Earth's people. In one major battle, the resistance successfully hijacked a smaller alien ship. Using their growing knowledge of the alien technology, they managed to hack into the ship's systems and take control. The ship had advanced weaponry, far beyond anything Earth had created, but the humans had figured out how to use it against the very invaders who had once controlled it. The tide of the battle shifted as the hijacked ship fired on the alien fleet, damaging several ships in the process. For the first time, the humans had struck a real blow against the invaders. As the resistance continued to build their arsenal, they began to focus on one major objective: the heart of the alien fleet. They believed that if they could disable or destroy the flagship, they might be able to cripple the invaders' ability to coordinate their forces. It was a risky plan, one that could cost thousands of lives, but it was the only chance they had to turn the tide in their favor. While this was happening, the aliens were facing challenges of their own. The damage to their ships was starting to mount. Some of their fleets had been forced to retreat for repairs, and the once confident invaders were now beginning to show signs of weakness. Their weapons, which had once been invincible, were now being countered by Earth's new technology. The alien fleet had underestimated Earth's ability to adapt, and they were paying for it. Inside the alien ships, there was panic. The commanders of the fleet had been accustomed to easily conquering planets, wiping out civilizations with their superior technology. But on Earth, things were different. The alien soldiers, who had once been feared across the galaxy, were now encountering fierce resistance from a force they had not expected: humanity's will to survive. One of the alien commanders, a high-ranking officer known as Siren, grew increasingly frustrated with the progress of the invasion. Siren had been tasked with leading the fleet to Earth, and in his mind, the mission was straightforward: destroy humanity, take the planet. Yet, as the days passed, Earth's resistance seemed to only grow stronger. He had never encountered anything like this before, an enemy that fought not only with weapons, but with heart and courage. Siren called a meeting of his top officers. His ship, the Veneris, loomed over Earth as the fleet gathered for their next move. Siren was no fool. He knew that the humans had something they hadn't expected: strategy. He had underestimated the human race, and now, that mistake might cost him his command. "I will not be the one who fails our mission," Siren said, his voice cold and determined. "We will break their resistance. We will show them that their defiance is futile. Prepare for a full-scale assault on their command center." But even as Siren spoke, his officers were starting to question his orders. Some of them began to doubt the invasion's success. The thought that a race as primitive as humanity could be challenging their empire was unsettling. If this small planet was putting up such a fight, what would happen when they encountered more advanced civilizations? While Siren struggled with his leadership, the resistance on Earth was not sitting idle. As the alien fleet began to prepare for the final assault, Earth's leaders devised a bold plan. They would infiltrate the heart of the alien command and disable their communication network. This would create chaos within the alien ranks and prevent them from coordinating their attacks. The resistance fighters worked in the shadows, preparing for the infiltration mission. They knew it was a suicide mission for many of them, but the stakes were too high. They had come too far to give up now. As the resistance fighters embarked on their daring mission, something unexpected happened. In the chaos of the alien fleet's preparations, a few of the alien ships began to show signs of disarray. Internal communications within the fleet were disrupted, and the once unified alien forces began to fragment. The resistance had successfully planted a virus in their communication network, causing confusion and slowing down their offensive. Siren, who had once been so confident, now faced an enemy that was getting stronger and more organized. His fleet was no longer the unstoppable force it had once been. There were cracks in the armor, and the humans were exploiting every weakness. At the same time, Earth's resistance fighters were making progress. The infiltration team had reached the alien command center. They planted explosives in critical locations, setting the stage for a major blow to the invaders' operations. It was a race against time. The humans had no way of knowing how long they had before the aliens regained control. The battle for Earth had taken an unexpected turn. The aliens, who had thought they could crush humanity with ease, were now facing a resistance that was more resourceful, more determined, and more dangerous than they had ever imagined. And as Siren's fleet prepared to launch its final assault, the resistance knew that the next battle would determine the fate of their world. A dangerous turning point. The resistance was gaining momentum. The damage to the alien fleet had grown, and their once perfect coordination was starting to unravel. Each victory, no matter how small, sent a powerful message. Humanity was not as easily defeated as the invaders had assumed. The aliens had underestimated Earth's resilience, and now they were paying the price. As the resistance continued to strike blows against the alien ships and sabotage their infrastructure, Earth's leaders and military began to regroup. They had not won the war yet, but they had something now: hope. They had seen the cracks in the alien fleet's powerful armor, and they were determined to exploit them. The survivors knew that Earth's chances of victory depended on striking the heart of the alien operation, and the time to act had come. The resistance launched a daring plan, a final offensive aimed directly at the core of the alien command structure. It was their boldest move yet. If they could disrupt the aliens' central command, if they could take down the systems that coordinated the invaders' fleet, they might just be able to cripple the entire invasion. But it wasn't going to be easy. The alien forces, though disorganized and damaged, still had the advantage of superior technology. They had vast numbers of ships and weaponry far beyond Earth's capabilities. Even as the Resistance made its final push, the aliens were preparing to launch their own retaliation. Xeran, the alien commander, had become increasingly desperate. He had watched his fleet get whittled down piece by piece, and his confidence was beginning to slip away. But he wasn't about to give up. He knew that if he could defeat Earth's resistance in one final, overwhelming attack, he could salvage his reputation and finish the job. His strategy was brutal and direct. He would unleash everything the alien fleet had in one massive strike. For Earth's fighters, the stakes couldn't have been higher. As the alien fleet began to gather its strength, the Resistance fighters took to the battlefield, knowing this might be their last stand. The hope of humanity rested on their shoulders. If they succeeded, they might turn the tide of the war. If they failed, it could be the end of everything. The battle was unlike anything Earth had ever seen. Alien ships filled the sky, their weaponry firing continuously, striking everything in their path. The Resistance responded with everything they had, launching counterattacks, trying to disable alien ships with their limited resources. Each explosion, each dogfight, sent ripples through the entire conflict. But it wasn't just the ships in the sky that made this battle so dangerous. On the ground, humanity's last hope lay in the hands of a small group of Resistance soldiers who had infiltrated the heart of the alien command center. They had made it inside, planted their charges, and were preparing to destroy the central hub that controlled the fleet. Their mission was simple: destroy the core, and the rest of the fleet would fall into disarray. Yet, as they neared the central control hub, they discovered something horrifying. It wasn't just a command center. It was a massive structure designed to protect the alien fleet, capable of repairing and recharging their ships. Destroying it wouldn't just cause confusion. It would also set the alien fleet's recovery back by months, possibly years. It was their best shot, but it came with a high price. The soldiers knew what they had to do. They placed the final explosives, set the timers, and prepared for their escape. But as they turned to leave, they realized the aliens had anticipated their move. The facility had been heavily guarded, and their exit route was cut off. The soldiers found themselves trapped inside the very place they had hoped to destroy. There was no way out. The alien reinforcements had arrived. On the battlefield, as the massive alien ships launched their final assault, the Resistance held their ground. For every alien ship destroyed, 2 more seemed to take its place. The humans were outnumbered, outgunned, and surrounded. The battle was reaching its climax, and it seemed like all hope was lost. But in those final moments, something unexpected happened. The explosives planted in the alien command center went off, shaking the very foundation of the fleet. The core systems that had powered the aliens' attack for so long were now in disarray. The fleet's coordination was fractured. The once sophisticated technology was now unreliable. Alien ships began to malfunction, their weapons misfiring, their shields failing. It was chaos. At that moment, Earth's forces seized their opportunity. The alien fleet, now in disarray, was vulnerable. Earth's Resistance fighters, spurred on by the desperation of the situation, launched a final, all-out assault. The sky above Earth was filled with flashes of explosions, as human forces took advantage of the confusion caused by the destruction of the command center. The alien fleet was no longer the unstoppable force it had once been. Now, it was a broken, fragmented force, fighting to hold on to what little control it had left. Xeran, who had been so sure of victory, now watched helplessly as his fleet descended into chaos. His forces were retreating, and he knew that he had lost. The battle for Earth was far from over, but in this pivotal moment, The resistance had turned the tide. The aliens were retreating, and for the first time, humanity had a real chance at victory. The final confrontation. The battle was no longer just a struggle for survival. It had become a fight for Earth's very existence. The alien fleet, once a terrifying and unstoppable force, was now fractured and reeling from the devastating blow dealt by the resistance. Earth's forces, fueled by the knowledge that victory was within their grasp, fought with a determination that no one, not even the aliens, could ignore. Ziran, the alien commander, was shaken. His fleet was falling apart, and he realized, too late, that he had underestimated humanity's capacity to fight back. What had once been a conquest, an easy task for the alien empire, had turned into a war that was threatening to consume them both. As Earth's forces pressed forward, the remaining alien ships attempted to regroup, but the resistance knew that this was their moment. The leaders of Earth's forces held an emergency meeting. The alien command center had been destroyed, but the aliens still had a formidable fleet, scattered but not defeated. Now the plan was simple: strike directly at the heart of the alien invasion, the flagship of Ziran's fleet, where the remaining leadership was making its final stand. If they could take down the flagship, they could end the war. The mission was dangerous. The flagship was heavily guarded, surrounded by the last of the aliens' most advanced ships. It was a fortress in the sky. But Earth's forces had already achieved the impossible. They had survived and fought back, and now they were ready to give everything for the final push. As Earth's fighters gathered for the final assault, the tension was palpable. Each pilot knew that this could be their last mission, but they also knew that their actions could change the fate of the entire planet. There was no turning back. With the Resistance Army fully mobilized, Earth launched its most significant attack yet, a desperate and bold strike at the alien flagship. The sky above Earth erupted in a storm of gunfire, missiles, and lasers. The final battle unfolded in the heavens, a brutal, relentless clash between the forces of Earth and the alien invaders. Fighter jets soared through the air, dodging blasts from alien ships, as resistance soldiers on the ground supported them with a barrage of weapons. The fight was intense and brutal. There was no room for mistakes. In the midst of the chaos, Earth's forces managed to break through the outer defenses of the alien flagship. But it wasn't going to be easy. As the final wave of resistance fighters made their way toward the flagship, they encountered Ziran himself, leading his last defense. The alien commander stood tall, his alien armor gleaming, as his soldiers fought fiercely to protect their ship. He had one goal left: to make Earth pay for every loss, every piece of ground his forces had lost. But as the resistance pushed forward, a strange realization began to settle in his mind. Despite all his strength, all his advanced technology, he was losing. The humans were relentless, and their fight was driven by something more powerful than technology: an unbreakable will to protect their home. Ziran ordered his soldiers to make one last desperate stand, but even as he did, he knew that Earth's forces were closing in. Resistance fighters moved quickly, planting explosives on the flagship, aiming to destroy the core of the ship's power. It was now or never. The battle reached its climax. Earth's forces, using all the tactics they had learned over the course of the war, fought their way to the heart of the flagship. The explosions from the planted charges shook the flagship to its core, and the ship's systems began to fail. The flagship's defenses faltered, and its once pristine structure began to crumble. Ziran, now seeing the inevitable, turned to his last option. He activated the ship's self-destruct sequence, hoping to take as many humans down with him as possible. But in that final moment, something extraordinary happened. One of the resistance fighters, a young woman named Mira, managed to get close enough to Ziran and disable the self-destruct system before it could fully engage. Her actions were brave and selfless, and she had become the symbol of humanity's resistance, a symbol of hope that refused to fade, no matter how dark things seemed. With Ziran's final defense disabled and the flagship's power core completely destroyed, The alien fleet was now crippled beyond repair. The remaining ships began to retreat, some in complete disarray, others fleeing in a panicked withdrawal. The invaders, once so confident in their ability to conquer Earth, were now in full retreat. The battle was over. Earth had won. But the victory came at a heavy cost. The sky was filled with debris from the destroyed alien ships, and the cities were still recovering from the devastation. Many lives had been lost, and Earth's survivors knew they could never forget the horrors they had faced. But even in the face of such loss, humanity stood victorious. They had proven to the galaxy that no matter the size of the threat, no matter the odds, they would fight to the last breath to defend their home. Xuran's fleet was in ruins. The alien invasion was over. But the universe was vast, and the humans knew that this victory might only be the beginning of a much larger story. The remnants of the alien fleet were scattered, and while Earth had won this battle, the fight for survival was far from over. Humanity had learned something profound through this war. They had learned that, in the end, it was not technology or power that decided the outcome of a battle. It was the will to survive, the courage to face the impossible, and the belief that no matter how dark the situation, there was always hope for a brighter future. The aftermath and a new beginning. The battle for Earth was over, but the war had left its scars. The once vibrant cities were reduced to rubble, and the landscape was littered with the wreckage of fallen alien ships and broken human defenses. The air still smelled of smoke and destruction, and the sounds of battle had been replaced by the quiet hum of rebuilding. But despite the devastation, there was something else in the air. Hope. Humanity had won, against all odds. Earth's defenders had managed to repel an alien force far more powerful and technologically advanced than anything they could have imagined. They had fought with courage, resilience, and an unwavering will to survive. And now, in the aftermath of their victory, they were left to rebuild their shattered world. The global leaders, once divided and in disarray, now stood united. They had been forced to put aside their differences in the face of a common enemy, and now they would have to work together to ensure that Earth could recover from the devastation. Earth's infrastructure was in ruins, but the world's people were determined to rebuild. Faster, stronger, and smarter than before. In every corner of the planet, survivors began to come together. People who had once been strangers now worked side by side, using the knowledge they had gained during the war to restore what had been lost. Scientists and engineers from around the world shared their ideas and resources, creating new technologies based on the alien tech they had scavenged from the wreckage. It was a new beginning, a chance to make Earth even better than it had been before. Yet, even as Earth began to rebuild, the survivors could not forget the cost of the war. The memory of the alien invasion would haunt the world for years to come. But the courage of the resistance fighters, their willingness to fight for their home, had become the symbol of Earth's resilience. Amidst the rubble, one question still lingered in the hearts and minds of humanity. With the aliens' return, Earth's leaders knew that the victory, though significant, was not a permanent guarantee of peace. The galaxy was vast, and the alien empire that had once threatened Earth was only one part of a much larger universe. There were undoubtedly other threats out there, other civilizations watching Earth to see how the humans had managed to defeat their invaders. Would Earth be ready for whatever came next? To prepare for the future, Earth's military forces began to reorganize and strengthen. The survivors of the war now formed a united defense system, Earth's United Forces, ready to face any threat that might emerge. The resistance fighters, once scattered and divided, had now become the core of Earth's new defense. They had proven that humanity could withstand the worst, and they would be the guardians of the planet in the years to come. Among the survivors, there was a growing belief that Earth's victory wasn't just a lucky break. It was proof that humanity was capable of much more than they had ever imagined. The alien invasion had forced them to see their true potential. They had learned to come together, to fight against impossible odds, and to protect their world no matter the cost. But the alien threat was not entirely gone. Some of the invaders who had survived the battle had been captured and taken prisoner. They were studied, interrogated, and analyzed. What they revealed was both chilling and enlightening. The alien fleet had not been an isolated operation. It was part of a much larger campaign, one that stretched across the stars. The aliens had been sent to conquer, yes, but they were not the only force in the galaxy with such intentions. There were others out there, watching, waiting for their moment to strike. In one of the secret military facilities, Earth's top scientists and strategists pored over the captured alien technology. They discovered that while Earth had won this battle, they had also unlocked knowledge that could help them defend against future threats. The alien technology, though advanced, held secrets that could propel humanity into a new age of exploration and defense. The survivors began to look to the stars, knowing that Earth's fight was not over. They had secured their planet, but the galaxy was vast, and the universe was filled with unknown dangers. They needed to be ready for whatever came next. And so, as the Earth began to rebuild, humanity stood on the edge of a new chapter. The lessons learned from the alien invasion would guide them into a future of exploration and unity. The war had changed the world forever, but it had also shown humanity something important: the power to survive, to grow, and to thrive against all odds. Earth was no longer just a small, isolated planet in the vastness of space. It had proven its worth, its strength, and its ability to fight back. And now, humanity was ready to face the unknown. The universe had seen what Earth could do, and if anyone, alien or otherwise, dared to challenge humanity again, they would soon learn the same lesson. Earth was no longer an easy target. Humanity had earned its place among the stars.